at stacking, but what if instead of having pieces that you're trying to rearrange when you're designing, you want, say, a bunch of feature recipes that people can scroll through that are up here, and then you scroll down and you've got your regular recipes. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to copy and paste my recipes title here. I'm going to move this down. Yeah, keep that padding. This one's going to be all recipes, and this one I'm going to change to feature recipes. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this feature recipe. I'm going to put in, I want my 67 padding, but I'll get there in a second. I'm going to paste a few of these. And I'm going to actually have them so that I've got more, and they're going off the pasteboard here. So I've got this one. Let's go for that. Now, again, to make my life easier so I can see what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and drop in some different images here. And this guy, I also want, let me see, spear. There we go, so I can see it. Oop. Yes, thank you. I have to make sure I had it selected. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select all of these guys. I'm going to make sure I get them all. And I want to group them. So now they're in a group. And you'll notice that that one that had been kind of hanging over wireframe pages, now that it knows that it's in this group and that it belongs to the group in here, it's disappeared off of my artboard for the tips page because it knows that it's part of this. And so in fact, I could do the same thing on the other side if I wanted it to be even longer. But for right now, I think this is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and call this group my feature recipe group, feature group. Now, I want someone to be able to click on this and to be able to scroll and see these other two. So I'm going to click on my feature recipe group here. Now I want this to be a scroll group. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is under object, make scroll group, and then I have to tell it, do I want it horizontal, vertical, or I could in this case do horizontal and vertical. So I want them to be able to scroll horizontally. So I'm going to click on H. So now you see that it's kind of changed the area here. So this is basically saying where can people scroll, and you'll notice that right now by default it is from the beginning of my first object to the end of the page. But if I want to say stop it here so that it's these guys and then you would scroll, I'm just going to go ahead and crop it so that I just see those particular images. All right, so now let's see how this actually works. I'm going to click on the wireframe recipe page and I'm going to demo it. So now I scroll down, I have my feature recipes, and then I have all recipes. Oops, and I need to make sure that my layers are right. So this is another, you can see the scroll group has gone above all this stuff. So I want to make sure my logo is the very top thing and my top nav is the second top thing. There we go. Oops. No, outside of scroll group. There we go. All right, now let's try this again. All right, scroll, I've got my feature recipes and then I've got all recipes. So now I'm on feature recipes and you notice I can now click and drag them horizontally. So this might be something that you want to be able to do, as you can see with the scrolling. There we go. As I've scrolled up a little bit, it was then moving. You can see I can still scroll as I'm moving it, so it made it look like it was kind of going horizontal and vertical, but it's just going this way. Now you'll probably want something in there to tell people that this is something that's scrollable, so that's where a lot of times you'll notice you'll have arrows on either end. It'll tell people, or sometimes you have your little dots at the bottom so that they'll move so that people know, oh, there's more behind here. Or that can be where sometimes you do want that little view area to include the next item, so that way there's a visual cue that, oh, there's something else here. If I click and drag, I'll be able to see the rest of the stuff. Oh, and then it stopped. Now you'll notice though that means that it stops at the edge of the page. So this last one will never come in. Whereas when I have my view area snap to here, that guy comes all the way in to the end of the view area, and then you don't have anybody hanging out over on this side. So it's important to figure out what the best way is to fit your view area for that scroll group. And we could do it vertically as well if we wanted all of these guys to scroll up. And that can be a way that if you wanted to say, set your footer here. So say you wanted your page to look like this, and then you wanted this footer to be fixed in position, but you wanted my tips to scroll. I'm going to select everybody here. I'm going to deselect my footer so that that's not in it. This whole thing, I want to be a scroll group that scrolls vertically. So I'm going to group my tips. This is my tips. And I'm going to go ahead and make my tips a scroll group that scrolls vertically. And I want that to start at the top of my tips. And then it's going to stop at here. So let's see what that looks like. So you see my tips, and then the tips scroll, and see it's scrolling behind, say, the search. So if I wanted my search to scroll as well, I'd have to include that in my scroll group. And then in this case, it goes all the way to the end there. So in this case, you'll notice that it keeps scrolling up from there because I had left my actual artboard to be bigger. So if I don't want that to happen, I'm just going to take my artboard and make it this size, because now all those pieces are contained within the scroll group. Make sure it's the exact, there we go. So now you've got this guy pinned in place, and I'll just scroll through my tips, and then when I'm done, it ends here. Now I might want to bring that area up a little bit, so I've got a little bit of breathing room with my footer, but there are little things I could tweak here and there. But that gives you how you could have a page with a header and a footer in there. Now, if I wanted that, obviously my header and footer should probably be a little bit smaller, but it gives you a sense of how you can make that work using, in this case, scroll groups.